Hey there, I'm Chris with Scenic View, and this is the Chirp Plus 2, and today I want to find out if it's just a fish finder or if it can be used for a little bit more. Let's find out. Okay, a little bit of backstory. So I've been looking for a sonar for my drone boat. And when I came across the Deeper Chirp 2 and I seen the specs, I knew I had to try it just on its price point alone. It's got a 100-meter depth. It even has its own internal GPS. Now it also is able to connect to an external GPS through your cell phone or Android device. Let's take a look at some of the fun I had in the couple lakes that I tried this in with the drone boat. And when we're done with that, I'll show you guys how I made the GIS data and import it into the computer, and we can go from there.
So how do you set up the Chirp 2 to receive RTK connections? What you're going to need to do is on an Android device specific, you're going to need to use the mock location feature. I actually have a video on how to do this already, and I'll put a link in the description. So you can head over there, and once you're done that, you can come back to this. And we're going to take a look at the data once you've actually collected some sonar. So let's take a look at that right now. So you can either go to the app or on your cell phone, or you can go to their online web portal. And this is on their online app. Now, I actually just found something out. There's actually two different files. You can download like the processed file from the website, which I think is available like for everybody to download. I could be corrected on that, but it's very different from the raw data that you collect. And I believe only you can download that raw data. What you're going to do is you're going to go up here, you're going to log in into your account, and from there you're going to go to summary. That's going to bring up your recent scans. Now, click on the scan you want. For me, it's this one. And what I was talking about is there's two different ones you can download. So you've got the three dots here and the three dots here. This one up here, if you download this one, which I already have like 3 times, we can take a look at this really quick. If you notice, you have lat, long, depth, and time. Exactly what you want. That right there will create a bathymetry model, which is really cool. You can just import that right into any GIS and away you go. And we'll take a look at that in a second as well. But the one that we want in this case, or specifically I should say, people that want all the data, you're going to click here and you're going to click on these 3 dots here. So you have this download CSV option here. You've got depth map or scan data. You want scan data. And that's going to download, and then you're going to get a file like this. Now, this is where we're just going to talk really quickly about the difference in the data between if you're using an RTK GNSS receiver that records at, say, 10, 15, even 20 hertz. And the sonar is collecting depth information anywhere between 10 and 15 hertz per second. But the problem is this is where the price point starts to show its colors a little bit. I think there's hardware limitation where it's only collecting GNSS data once per second. And this isn't that big of a deal because you can align this data up with the data from your GNSS receiver. In this case, oops, let me drag this over here quick. In this case, let's pull these side by side here. We have 2 files. This one here is from the MLID M Plus that I used on the exact same scan. And as you can see, we've got elevation, lat, long, and we're collecting at 15 hertz on this one. We can use through interpolation methods on CSV. There's also a few hardware out there that will do this as well, specifically designed to sync timestamps. Speaking of timestamps, I was unable to sync through timestamps. I even converted this human readable timestamp to GPS time, and there was about a 4-second variance. Now, this isn't saying that their timestamp isn't in sync. In fact, I would more be inclined to say that it's working perfectly fine when I show you the data afterwards, because you'll see that it lines up flawlessly. But I wasn't able to align it with the timestamp. There was about a 4-second error in there, and I'm not sure if there was that was due because of the Wi-Fi or what that issue was, but We can cover that another time maybe. So I wasn't able to do that through a timestamp, but what I was able to do was sync it up to the GPS stamp. So I just interpolated the values that we have from the emlet here with here, and I aligned the GPS points up in between. And then I took the depth information and I plotted them into this file right here. And then you have elevation data, depth data, pardon me, lat and long, and timestamps. From there, you're able to pull out some pretty cool GIS data. So let's take a look at that really quick. So this is the scan I did, and this is a quick map that I made. But let's take a look at the difference between the 1 Hertz data from directly out of the sonar and what the reach data looks like once it's been merged. So here is 1 Hertz. Now, by all rights, this is excellent, very capable data. It can totally produce a map, especially if you're doing 15-meter grids. So let's just take a measurement here real quick. So if we measure from this point to this point, and we look in the bottom corner here, I've got 14.7 meters. And so my boat's pretty accurate. So that thing is at 15-meter grids. Now, if we go between point to point at 1 Hertz, that's about 2.5. Try that again. Zoom in a little bit here. That's about 2.5. There we go, 2.36. And that makes sense actually, because it's going 2.5 meters per second is what this scan was. So if you're doing 15-meter grids, the export data right out of the sonar is excellent. It's totally fine. But if you want more data and you want to do tighter grids, then you can overlay that data with the GPS, and you can see that there's just so much more data here available to you. And so this is the depth information plotted into the 15 Hertz GPS data. And yeah, it's pretty detailed. I hope, let's make these points a little bigger here so you guys can just take a look. There we go. Now we can see. So yeah, a good comparison of the data. But when you're done, you can take that and produce a depth map like this guy. We'll take them both off, and this is what you have. And you know, honestly, it's really quite detailed. I was super impressed with the output on this. There was one more thing I wanted to show you guys with this data is the overlay. So when the data crossed itself, this is a really good check to see how accurate the sonar data is, but mind you, you never know what's under there. There's no ground truthing with this because I didn't do any depth, like actual ground truthing under the water. So let's just take a look really quick at some points that are really close to each other. So we've got 2 crosses here. So these two, oh, these are good because this is 2 sonar points too. So that guy right there is 1.6627 meters deep. And this guy is 1.6628. So we're talking like less than a millimeter. No, we are talking millimeters. That's 1.6. That's so 5 millimeters difference there, right? That's passable by my standards. Let's go over here. So these points right here, these are pretty close. This guy is giving me 1.452 meters. And this guy is 1.4497. Once again, what is that? 4 millimeters? Like, and those are totally different paths crossing over top of each other. So, you know, like, I don't know. I don't know how their technology is working with the Chirp and if it's averaging measurements. And look at that. On top of that, this data is in a little knoll. It's actually, you can tell that there's a little rise here. If we take everything off and just look at the imagery underneath of it, this is quite pixelated imagery, but you can see that there is an actual knoll here. So it's pretty cool to see like the data being pulled into a GIS from a $350 sonar. You know, I don't know, you guys can tell me what you think, but this seems like a pretty good use case, especially for, you know, there's so many use cases for dredging and for specifically like river monitoring where you got to do cross sections and you just need to just take information looking at scouring and erosion control. There's just so many things that this can be used for in like a professional way. So Yeah, I hope that I was able to give you guys a cool look at the data, how this sonar works, and let me know if you guys have any comments or anything else you would like me to touch on, and we can go from there. Until next time, see you guys.